Hi, I'm TBABY or Tabby, and if you're anywhere on TikTok, and especially if you're in the My Little Pony fandom, you've probably seen this trend where they're taking the original cast and then putting them into this infected AU. And I've seen a bunch of different takes on this. I've seen people bringing back the 28 pranks later sort of thing with the rainbow cookies. I've also seen some people use that swamp flower. And there's been all sorts of different infection things. But I like all these ideas. But what gets me the most is I feel like sometimes the designs lack and a lot of the characters taken away. So that's why I'm here. I'm gonna be redesigning some My Little Pony characters, specifically for my own little infection AU. And I'm gonna be starting with Rarity and Fluttershy for this episode, just for time's sake. And I'm just gonna get right into Rarity. So with Rarity, I've seen a lot of people make her either the first infected or one of the first out of the main 6 to die, in which I see why people would choose to make that decision. But Rarity's dramatic, but she's not stupid, right? See, I've always imagined her to be this sort of like clean freak. And with this in mind, especially in the show, just how she reacts to little specks of mud, I think she'd probably be one of the last people to get infected just because of how much she likes to keep herself clean and tidy. And not only that, but she's quite literally a fashion designer. So with that occupation, you have to pay attention to the littlest details. And Rarity has no problem throwing shade when somebody looks bad in the show, right? So with this in mind, it's just like, not only do I think she'd survive for a while, I think she'd probably be one of the first people to even notice an infection is going on, because of just how like tuned in she is with these small little details and how much she avoids getting dirty or sick, right? And so that very much inspires the design. I decided to give her surgical mask and gloves. And I made the gloves super long because at the same time I wanted to mimic what she might wear to like a gown. I like those really long fancy gloves because I really wanted to keep her personality still intact. Like, you can very much tell she still likes to upkeep herself and thinks highly of her appearance. And I think that just adds more to this like cleanliness aspect that I'm giving her, because she's like low-key obsessed, and I think it fits because she's low-key obsessed about how she looks in the show. Not only am I making her wear the surgical mask and stuff like that, I'm also giving her like bright jewelry as well. I add it at the very end, but her ears, I give her like 2 shiny earrings, and her bag has a really bright gem on it, because even in the apocalypse, she's still gonna want to look cute. That's why I gave her eyeshadow and stuff, because like, come on, it's Rarity. She would rather die than not look gorgeous. That's another reason why I put her hair up in a bun, because I imagine most ponies would cut their manes and stuff by this point and like shorten their tails. Rarity would rather die than cut her long beautiful hair. So that's why she put it up in a bun, because I think she'd rather sacrifice herself to the undead than give that up. So a lot right now, I'm just doing fine details. I'm just smoothing everything out, and I'm just adding shading and stuff. But she is, let me back up. So basically the way everything's set up in this like universe is there's very much an infection that's killing people and is turning these guys into basically zombies. However, they acted fast enough to where they were able to get most people in these facilities safe. And so now that everyone is in one space, Rarity has become head of the sanitation team because she has to make sure everything's clean because they're keeping test subjects to try to figure out and cure this virus. So she's constantly stressed out, feeling as if the place is dirty, especially with infected in the facility. And it's constantly weighing down on her. And so her bag and things in it, it's lots of cleaning supplies. It's lots of honey, which in the show is a cure for the swamp fever. But I have, in my own way, I've made it sort of like, not really a cure, but a preventative. So you usually like take your daily honey supplements and it like boosts your immune system. It's not something that's just a cure-all. And so, yeah, that's basically all I have for her. She's just kind of an obsessive clean freak now. And Sweetie Belle is still living and well. It's probably one of the reasons Rarity hasn't fully lost it. Just because she still has someone to take care of. This was the old design that I made, and this is the new one. I like the new one a lot better. She's a lot more elegant and put together. But anyways, no more Rarity. Let's go on to Fluttershy. So, another trend I've been seeing recently is a lot of people just make Fluttershy straight up dead or into this horrible monster. So I'm like, okay, you're kind of right though, because I do think Fluttershy is infected. I draw her infected. However, since Fluttershy has such an interesting like relationship with Discord, like they're buddies, I think that Discord puts some sort of like spell protection onto her. But this protection doesn't stop the virus. It's actively spreading and it's still taking over her body, except she's fully conscious during the entire thing. She doesn't become zombified or anything, but she's still very much contagious and can spread it. However, this puts her in a really interesting situation because she's not like super aggressive or brain dead. She's still her. Like Fluttershy is still in there. So they put her in basically this research facility and she's now essentially just a test subject that has to be used and experimented on. And at this point, she doesn't talk anymore. She's completely numb to everything. She's still there mentally, but she's like not the same person. The only time she talks is when Discord comes around, and the only thing she asks of him is to just kill her and end the suffering. Because as you can see, her wings are permanently spread out as branches and twigs and stuff have started to grow out them. And I might put a picture of it, but I imagine the cell she's in is completely taken over by this nature that's like growing out of her now. And so she's constantly stuck in this like really tedious position and it's tiring. And I wanted to make sure that she looked like dead. Like, so we have a lot of like necrosis and lots of dried blood. And I wanted to make her skin look really thin and her bony. I think I did a pretty good job at it. I was really struggling with incorporating the pink into her design because I still thought it was like too bright for everything, but I ended up changing that a bit later by putting more gray tones, and then afterwards I start giving shadows like a pink hue just to tie it all together more. But yeah, this puts Fluttershy in a really interesting position. And there's also, now that her now that she's like this and in the facility just being a test subject, there's also a lot of like moral questioning, like, hey, this used to be like our friend and now she's just kind of this thing we're doing tests on. And so that's causing like a lot of conflict in between most ponies. And I think that added stress and the humanitarian side of things just makes conflict a lot more interesting, because like she's definitely a danger, but she's not the typical like infected danger. Like she would never go out of her way to attack anybody, but just her being alive, like her presence is enough to harm somebody else. And so I'm just adding in finer details, and I think at this point I'm just cleaning up the sketch. And if there's something I could change about this piece, it would be that I feel like I should have there should have been more contrast, especially in the darker parts, because when I add that pink, it kind of washes it out. I still think the pink was a good idea and necessary to tie it all together, but specifically with the two back legs, it's just like, it kind of washed it out. But this is the finished piece of Fluttershy. I like it a lot. She's in so much pain, but it's okay. Not really. And this is the rarity one right beside her. So, yeah. Those are my redesigns. Let me know if you want more, because I actually really like doing this. And maybe I'll do a better job at explaining the world next time. Maybe I'll do, like, an infection process video. But yeah. Bye-bye.